Beasts of 42nd Street by Preston Fassel from Cemetery Dance, 262 pages, is tonally dour and grimy in some of my favorite ways. The story follows Andy Lew, a projectionist at the Colossus, a 42nd Street cinema that specializes in horror and thriller fare with a sleazy slant. The story was set primarily in 1977 Manhattan, and it's not exactly the nicest place to spend your nights. We follow Andy, a greasy junkie with a lustful appreciation for cinema of the grittiest, raunchiest, goriest, and realest variety, in the midst of his quest to identify the subject of a snuff film he's procured through shady means. His prized possession is the film reel containing footage of the last moments of this poor woman's life, and he often acts as though the reel is the love of his life, referring to it as her throughout the story. Andy also moonlights as an informant for the shadiest cop on the NYPD, a man referred to as Gator, who boasts the most officer-involved shootings in the city. Through Gator, Andy meets with Nikki Blaze, an aging porn star who apparently shares Andy's love of art cinema. Through Nikki, we're introduced to a group of eclectic artists in search of the most real experiences. This group also leads us to the next reveal in the story, which drives the larger plot forward. I have a great appreciation for media that centers in the 60s, 70s, and 80s New York setting. I never had the chance to experience it, but art that comes from that or pays homage to that era tends to have a distinct, grimy, nihilistic feel. Fassel brings that through here spectacularly. I loved being in the icky, slimy world of Andy Lew, along with him as he scores dope and verbally abuses anyone unlucky enough to speak with him as his apartment crumbles around him. The story here felt to me sort of like Taxi Driver meets Clive Barker, which is a mashup I never knew I wanted, but it was great. The execution is sharp, and Fassel pulls few punches in terms of how despicable his characters can become. That said, many of them were still fun to be around, and not repellent in a way that made me want to stop reading at all. If there was anything I struggled with, I would say it was the pacing, which is consistent through most of the story, but I might have liked a little more up and down in some of the parts. That said, it's effective in keeping the mood and tone on point. What's impressive is that the story is pieced together from new material melded with stuff that Fassel wrote years ago in self-contained shorter pieces. There's a clear love and appreciation of the Andy Lew character, so be prepared to spend a lot of time with him, for better or for worse. For me, for the most part, it was for the better. Without going too deep into anything that might spoil the story, I appreciated the level to which this one was grounded in realism. There's some parts where things get a little out there, but it's very understated, and I felt it was used effectively. I would recommend Beasts of 42nd Street to fans of Clive Barker's earlier works, and anyone who likes grimy New York as much as me, because there's a lot of it here. As far as content warnings, there's violence, murder, Satanism, ritualistic stuff, child abuse, including some sexual abuse and implied incestual stuff, I think. A lot of this is referential, and it's not overt and in your face, and it works into the story in ways that make sense. I'm glad I picked this one up. It's available wherever you get books. Check out cemeterydance.com for more info, and pick up a copy of Beasts of 42nd Street by Preston Fassel. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you're anything like me. What did you think, Winston? Did you like this one?
I'd rate Beasts of 42nd Street by Preston Fassel 6 stains on Jesus.